Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Albeego webinar. Hope you're all well. I'd try to start with thanking you all for joining. I can see people are joining as I speak, but what we're going to do is record this session. And anyone that doesn't make it on now, and I know there's a few already have flagged that they can't make it, we will send a link to a recording of it. So just let you know, we are recording this session, but all microphones and cameras are muted. So if you're a bit shy, don't worry, we're not going to see you on the screen or anything when it's recorded. What I'd just like to say as well, there's a chat facility on this webinar. So if you have any questions, just ping them in the chat. And if we've time at the end, we're aiming for about 45 minutes, we will address as many questions as we can at the end. We'll just see how we're getting on for time because I'm conscious of people's time. So we're aiming to wrap up in about 45 minutes if that's possible. For those of you who haven't used Teams before, if you switch the chat off, you get a kind of bigger screen of the presentation. So it's probably sat in a little box at the moment. You can make that a little bit bigger if you switch the chat off whilst you're watching. Okay, so we'll start. So to introduce, I'm Ed Critchley. Many of you know me, Sales and Marketing Director here at Albeego. Presenting today with me, I've got Colin Hamilton, who's the Chief Technology Officer and the inventor, I think it's fair to say, of the Albeego products, and also Simon Precious, who's our CEO, and both Simon and Colin will be presenting some of the slides today. So just quickly run through the agenda. The purpose of the webinar, I'm just going to talk a little bit about that on the next slide. What's this about? What's the next 45 minutes about? And what do I hope you guys will get out of it? Who are Albeego? Simon's going to talk about actually who we are and also what our mission is. We're going to show you a little short overview video as well, just 2-minute video, and I'll just give you a bit of a warning. For some reason, the sound might come through quite loud, so maybe mute or turn the volume down for that video later on. Colin's going to talk about why bonded and bonded technology. He's going to cover the products and some use cases. We're going to talk a little bit about BSIM, which is a potential game changer. And then if we have time, as I say, some questions and then a wrap up. So what are the objectives of this webinar? So I've met quite a few people over the last couple of months. I started with Albeego back in, I think it was October time, and speaking to people, the way you bring a new product to market is through talking to people. And I think webinars such as this are probably a great way to maybe get the message out of what we can do and what we're offering. We really think we've got something exciting here and something quite special. So for us, it's about really getting that message out to as many people as possible. So I'm hoping we get that across today in the webinar, just why we're quite excited about Albeego and Albeego products and services. We're going to talk about what we can do for your business, and what we mean by that is not just in terms of end user experience, which we can add a lot to, but also revenue opportunities and improving your bottom line. I think there's a lot there that we can offer you, which will hopefully gain your interest. So what's in it for you? I think that's obviously key. So everybody on this call, I'm sure, is wondering what they can get from Albeego and Albeego products. And I think we'll describe multiple opportunities for you. And again, I hope we get that across today. So without much further ado, I'm going to hand over to Simon, and he's going to talk you through Albeego and who we are. Simon.
Thank you, Ed. Afternoon, everyone. Right, who are Albeego? Albeego, it was formed in 2018, basically as an idea to bring bonding technology to the masses. This idea gathered momentum in 2019 when we started development of Albe Connect, which is our own bonded router software. Shortly thereafter, we started looking in the market for suitable hardware which we could utilize as our bonded router device. But after discovering that such hardware didn't exist, or at least hardware which could maximize the features we were developing for Albe Connect, we were left basically with no choice but to start developing our own. Having not anticipated developing hardware or having the knowledge to do so, we were fortunate enough to be introduced to the Manufacturing Technology Centre, or the MTC, as it's commonly known. The MTC was established as an independent research and technology organisation with the objective of bridging the gap between academia and industry often referred to as the Valley of Death. It has more than 100 members. That includes some of the biggest brands in the world, such as Unilever's, Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, Siemens, and the like. The MTC assists such companies, and in select cases with SMEs such as Albeego, with the design, the prototyping, the testing, and final production of products and certification. And they have been instrumental in the design and development of our core hardware devices. And I think further recognition of Albeego's potential for commercial exploitation has been UK research and innovation support of aspects of our core solution development through UK RI grants and funding, which some of you know can be quite a challenge to access. So, whilst we're excited by the progress and the results of our initial minimum viable products, we were conscious that really the key to long-term success was not so much what we were offering, but how we were going to offer it. Research and analysis of existing companies or competitors that provided bonded router technology highlighted the following to us. A, the cost of the hardware was expensive, as were the often complicated licensing structures. B, the setup and support was complicated, necessitating the need, in some cases, for IT team scale involvement. C, the use and applications were often limited by the size, the bulk, and lack of mobility of the hardware. Such research and our own understanding of the real-time applications for bonding technology in an increasingly connected world formed Albeego's current long-term vision, which is to effectively commoditize bonding technology. So when I say commoditize, what do I mean? Well, by commoditizing, what we mean is bringing the benefits of bonding technology to sectors and applications which weren't previously possible, by making the solutions affordable and easy to set up and operate, and providing a service wrapper that ensures around-the-clock monitoring and support to maintain uptime and easy management and access to the Albeego network and SIM data. The next slide, please, provides an illustrative overview of components of the Albeego solution as a service model. Whilst Colin will be covering the technical aspects in this webinar, however, as per the slide, we've split our business model into 4 components. 1, the products, the software or Albe Connect, and a range of hardware devices designed for use across multiple applications, whether that's indoors, outdoors, or on the move. The network, which is Albeego's cloud-based network that provides Albeego bonded routers with globally accessible bonded broadband connectivity. Service, Albeego's combined NOC and SOC provides 24/7 support and our branded data offering, which we call BSIM. And revenue, recurring revenue opportunities via Albe Connect's licensing, BSIM data, and other future revenue streams which form part of our ongoing development roadmap. So today, Albeego has met or exceeded the timelines and milestones we set in our 2019 planning. Our products have been through successful early adopter trials across various industry sectors, including military, and feedback and improvements will feature in the final production release of the Albeego bonded devices in Q2. Our network is fully operational and scalable, and our service support is on track to be fully operational for a Q2 product launch. Okay, next slide, thank you. As stated, our vision is to commoditize bonding technology and make it available to a wider audience, whilst our technical mission statement is to deliver fast, stable, resilient, and secure broadband connectivity to anywhere, static or on the move, which Colin will further explain the why and how. But just before I hand over to Colin, we're going to play a short animated video which provides a general overview of Albeego technology as a segue into the technical part of the webinar, which Colin will host. And as Ed said, just a warning on the volume because it is a bit loud when it kicks in. Thank you.
Our world relies on wireless connectivity to enterprise and internet networks. For users of enterprise and internet networks, the challenge is ensuring these networks and systems are fast, reliable, and secure. Most mobile or remote users connecting to a corporate or internet network rely on a single wireless network connection. The problem with this type of connection is that it can often be slow, unstable, or even unsecure. And the security of a network is only as strong as its weakest link. Your Albeego device randomly balances your data across multiple secure VPN connections. This highly secure bonded connection uses multiple highly encrypted channels to extend the enterprise network or internet to any location globally, with the same level of assurance as a branch office connection. Building multiple secure connections across public infrastructure between trusted points. For individuals, your Albeego device provides a more stable, totally secure, and a faster service, dynamically connecting you to the 3 best available networks at the same time. While using AlbeX, our own counter cyber capability with automatic blacklisting blocking rogue masks for your total security. On the move, your Albeego device adapts to the challenges of mobile network environments, while avoiding signal dropout and maintaining a fast and stable connection for multiple devices. Wherever you are, your Albeego device allows you to securely extend your work desktop with a secure, stable, and fast connection to the enterprise network or internet, even when using wireless networks. Seamless dynamic connectivity at home or globally. Albeego, stable, secure, fast connectivity, whether static or on the move. Let's be connected.
Okay, hi, my name's Colin Hamilton. I'm the CTO here at Albeego, and I think I'm going to introduce you to the technology, but I want to start by giving you a little bit of a background as to where all this came from. I was in the military for 25 years. I was in the Royal Signals. I left as a technical officer in 2008. And because of what I did in the military, I was always very interested in technologies which would help me deliver bandwidth to some pretty austere locations, because army people tend to sit in really weird places and need connectivity. So I left the army in 2008, as I said, and I joined the oil and gas business out in the Middle East, where I was able to have a look at what the commercial world was up to. And I got involved in quite a lot of smart oil field work while I was out there. I then returned to the UK and I joined a company down south, a very specialised company, and I went back to designing tactical networks for the military. And it was while I was doing that I came across a technology that I hadn't really come across before, and that was bonded technology. And there were various reasons why I'd never really come across it. First of all, when I was in the military didn't really like using commercial bearers. Well, they absolutely do now. So it became much more viable. But also, bonding technology was a data center technology. It was used by engineers to sort of bond multiple links together so you could put high bandwidth connections between data center servers, etc. So for us out in the world where we needed connected mobility, it wasn't really relevant. But then, of course, we saw this massive explosion in mobile technology, 2G, 3G, 4G, 4G advanced, LTE, 5G as it is now. And all of a sudden, mobile connectivity and mobile networks become so much more usable to us. And actually, in my case, where I live, a mobile connection is actually better than the so-called fibre I got to my house. So I began to become really interested in the concept of bonding multiple mobile connections together to give you a really strong, stable, fast and secure broadband connection, whether static or on the move. I dug around and I found the companies that were out there that were doing it. But as Simon said, there were barriers to using this technology. It was very expensive. It took an awful lot of, it was very, very complex. So you needed an IT team, and it wasn't very mobile because of the size of the batteries that they required, because they weren't managing the radios very well. So I decided to plonk a load of stuff into a margarine carton. I downloaded some internet off some software off the internet, and I jumped on a train at Wigan, where I live, and I took a train ride down to London, and I managed to stream high definition TV all the way down there. And what that did was prove to me the concept that actually this could be done using modern software and hardware techniques, we can actually scale this down and actually push it out to the consumer as a commoditized model. So I teamed up with my business partners, Simon, Tim, and Alan, and we decided to try and build this thing. Now, what the result of all that work is what I'm going to show you now. And if I refer to this first slide, I'm going to very briefly explain to you. I know you've just seen the video. Well, let's just talk about how this thing actually does what it's supposed to do. It's a mobile router. You can see it there. And on board, I'm going to talk about mobility to begin with. On board that mobile router, it has 3 LTE radios. What the system does, as it loads up, it loads the radios up with their firmware, and then it breaks the mobile spectrum down into 3 big chunks. And then what the 3 radios do is scan that chunk of the mobile spectrum that they've been allocated. So what we can actually do is scan the entire spectrum relatively quickly. And what that does is gives us a list of cell towers, what we call ENOBs, that the router can actually see and connect to. What we do then is we run a clever algorithm against the data that we've described those cell towers in. So what we would say is the cell tower would have the following signal strength, it'll have the following signal quality, noise floor, signal to noise ratio, and the access point number. So we can describe each one of these cell towers in technical terms. And when we run the algorithm against those figures, we can actually come up with a list of cell towers in quality order. What the router does then is it looks at its GPS. It's actually got 3 GPSs, so it knows exactly where it is and it knows which direction it's going in if it's actually on the move. If it's on the move, it applies what we call mobility mode. Mobility mode, it means that the router will connect the 3 best different networks to its radios. If it's static, it doesn't care. It just uses what it calls static mode. Static mode is connect the 3 radios to the best network possible. And in my house, for example, it connects to Vodafone, and EE, because the Vodafone network and the EE network are very similar in terms of quality. So what we've got now is a device that the technology that allows it to do this and manipulate its radios is called Agile SIM technology. Agile SIM technology is one of the technologies which is covered by our patents, and it allows the router to connect any one of its radios to any network at any time. Okay, so now this router is connected to 3 different mobile networks. The next thing it does is it establishes a secure VPN between itself across each one of those connections. And those VPNs are then anchored in what we call an exit node. The exit node sits in the cloud, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment. But effectively, what the exit node does, as it terminates those VPNs, any data that comes in from the router is then reordered back into its original packet format and then forwarded to either the operational network or the internet or wherever the client requires to be connected to. Next, the wireless user or the user of the router can actually cable in, or they can Wi-Fi in to the router. Once they're connected, they start a service up. Let's just assume they're going to start Teams, for instance. Now, unlike a load balancer would select the best one of those 3 connections and commit that service to that connection. A bonded solution doesn't do that. What a bonded solution does is volumetrically balances that service and the packets across all 3 connections. So effectively, you're getting all of the bandwidth all of the time, which makes it a lot more efficient. At the far end, as I've said, the exit node receives the packets, and if they become reordered or out of sequence, they are then reordered, put into the original format, and then forwarded to the network. So that's effectively what the Albeego bonded network does. Now, the next slide is a little bit geeky. I apologize for that. It's the last geeky one I'll show you, but I just want to show you how the network is actually built. We've all heard of software-defined networks. I've been in the game an awful long time now, and quite frankly, I was getting a bit tired of hearing about software-defined networks until we needed to build the Albeego network. And what we actually found was software-defined networks was the perfect answer. What we've got here is a 4-layer software-defined network. The top layer, or the top plane, is called the application plane, and that's where all our clever stuff sits. That's where all our management software and our Mender software, the stuff that we do, the over-the-air updates, sits. So that's a very important aspect of the system. Then stepping down, we've got the control plane. The control plane is the area of the software-defined network that controls the data plane. Now, dropping down to the data plane, our data plane's a little bit weird. In fact, it's a little bit special in that we push are exit nodes down into the data plane. An exit node is that aggregation server that connects, that the deployed routers connect to. We can spin up an exit node anywhere in the world in under 2 minutes. And that gives us a massive amount of flexibility and a huge amount of scalability, which is what we're going to need eventually for when we go forward into the B2C world. So that's all I'm going to really cover on the software-defined network. What I'm going to do now is very quickly go through the B2B product set. At the top there, you've got Albeego Connect, which is the software I've just been talking about. That's the router software and the software-defined network architecture and software. And then on the lower part of this slide, you can see some of the hardware that we've had to develop to support the B2B market. First one I'm going to show you is the mobile. Albeego Pro Mobile was the first product that we decided to develop, and as Simon says, we were lucky enough to be hoovered up by MTC, and they've actually helped us design this thing. The problem we had was nobody puts a processor, loads of LTE radios, a Wi-Fi radio, batteries, a UPS, and a USB hub all in the same box and expect it not to burst into flames. That was the problem that we had. So when we went to MTC, we started to work on this, and we've actually developed the router that's in front of you now. It's our first it's a first mobile router that we've designed, and we believe that it is truly the most mobile bonded router in the world today. Any other bonded router that you see usually has external antennas, it has external batteries. Because of Agile SIM technology and the way we use our radio systems, we've been able to integrate everything into the same box. And this is just another image of the Albeego Pro Mobile. Okay, looking at some of the use cases for the mobile. Well, work from anywhere, of course. I use mine all the time. It travels with me in my laptop case. I use it constantly. Connected professional mobile workforce, of course, speaks for itself. Lone site worker. You can also use it for connected teams. The military like to use it in a connected teams environment. And then, of course, you've got connected mobility at the bottom there. So that was Albeego Pro Mobile. As we were building the mobile, the COVID pandemic hit. And all of a sudden, people began to be very focused on what I call digital rapid reconfiguration. And what that is it's taking the secure perimeter of your corporate network, and it's bending it and shaping it into a different topology to allow people to work in different places. For instance, because they needed to thin the offices out, they may have to extend the corporate network into the canteen or into some meeting rooms, or even extend it into people's houses. The way to do that is to put in what we call a branch office connection, and that's quite a difficult thing to do. It's got to be engineered properly, usually with MPLS links. Well, this was the device which would do that job for you. What you can do with this device, the Pinion, is take it, drop it into a DHL box and send it anywhere in the world. What it'll do instantly, when you switch it on, it will connect back at branch office quality and give you that secure branch office extension to your corporate network, and that's anywhere. So we decided to build the Pinion simply because that was a hole in our product set. Also, if you take the antennas off it, this thing's got a powerful battery inside. You can slip it under the seat of a car and it gives you full broadband mobility in a bigger vehicle than you would usually serve with a mobile router. And these are just some more images of the Pinion. Okay, use cases. Well, I've just said branch office extension. We know about that one, but also it's excellent for temporary construction sites. You know, you don't have to wait for BT to rock up with the fibers anymore. You can just walk in and DHL one of these to your construction site, and you're instantly connected. Safe, unplanned, and rapid digital reconfiguration. I've mentioned that, and then at the bottom there, yeah, this is the device that we enable larger vehicles, buses, or larger taxis, or people carriers, etc. Okay, so we have the mobile and we've got the Pinion, and then somebody said, well, what if I want to use it outdoors? So we said, okay, we need some sort of IP67 device. So we went back to MTC and we stole all the electronics that MTC had worked hard with us to produce for the mobile, and we put it into an IP67 case. And this is the Rugged. I'll show you a few images of the Rugged. got a battery on board, it's PoE powered, and it has an optional Wi-Fi access point, depending on what you use it for. If you want to use it as a Wi-Fi hotspot, like it, at the top here, then we would put a powerful Wi-Fi access point on it. It's also good for outdoor network extensions, but it's particularly important for smart utility networks, smart oil field. If I was out in Dubai now and I was working in the oil and gas business, this is the device I would be using for smart oil fields, because prior to this type of technology, smart oil fields weren't quite as smart as we thought they were. This is a really good solution for a smart oil field. Okay, that's all the hardware, B2B hardware I was going to cover. What I'll show you now is this is an image of what we call BView. BView is a phone app, or it's an app that goes on your laptop or your tablet, and it allows you to view what the router's actually doing. And you can see there, this router, you can see left-hand side the download speed, right-hand side is the upload speed, and then you've got lots of data at the bottom there about what sort of connections it has in terms of signal strength, what networks it's connected to, etc. Now, if you move around that application, you can do all sorts of things. There's a dashboard in there which allows you to do a speed test. You can configure the clients. You can have a look at who's connected and apply rules to the connected devices. And you can also look at its environmental data. For instance, you can keep an eye on the temperature. And of course, we have systems in our control plane and in our application plane which also allow us to monitor these. So if you've got a router out there that's overheating and you've subscribed to the full support package, then you're probably going to get a phone call or an email from us telling you to move it somewhere cooler or stick it in an air-conditioned room. Okay, that's the B2B hardware and software. I'm going to move very, very quickly on because I know we're quite short on time. I just wanted to very quickly talk to you about our B2C products. What you've seen so far is B2B. B2C, once we perfected the B2B technology, it was just a case of really adapting the hardware. So we've got Albeego Connect top left there. What we can do then is run Albeego Connect on the actual client's hardware. So in this case, it's running on a Windows 11 laptop. If you drop down there on the left-hand side there, that's GoFi. That's our version of the modern MiFi unit. It looks like a MiFi. It costs the same as a MiFi, but you get a bonded experience. Now, if we run it top right on somebody's laptop, the problem is the laptop hasn't got any LTE radios in it. My laptop here has only got a Wi-Fi radio in it. That's problematic. So what we do is we take the GoFi, bottom left, we pull the expensive processor out of it and leave the batteries and the radios in there. Now, if you plug that into your computer, your laptop, and it's running our Albeego Connect software, all of a sudden your laptop becomes a virtual bonded router. So that's really the most commoditized aspect of the whole project. That's where we're heading. And just to finish off, I'll just show you some images of GoFi. Here's GoFi sat in the top of the range Range Rover. That's what it looks like, and that's really what it's designed for. It's a MiFi device which is used for traveling. And that's it. Back to Ed. Oh, wrong. Okay. The last slide, we put this in, which is why it's thrown. But we think it's important that we put this in because we talked about engineering the complexity out. And one of the complexities of owning bonded technology is the fact that you've got multiple radios, which means you've got multiple SIMs. And there's nothing worse than trying to juggle 3 data accounts. So we knew this was a problem when we've been looking at this for some time now. And we've teamed up with some very, very clever companies. And we've actually come up with our own SIM solution. It's called BSIM. And it is smart and it is very different. It's different because your only option when you want to roam globally at the moment is to put what we call a global roaming SIM in. If you put a global roaming SIM in, it will cost you a small fortune to use the device. Now, if you're sat in the UK, the last thing you want to be doing is using a global SIM because of the cost simple. So what we've done is come up with BSIM. BSIM is a very smart SIM, and it can hold multiple IMSIs, multiple profiles. So what we can have is we can have tier 1 profiles while it's in the UK. Travel across to Europe, it will adopt a European roaming profile. And then if you get off the plane in the States, it'll adopt the US profile. Now that's smart in itself, but when you then add agile SIM technology to that, which is our patented technology, it allows the router to interact with the SIM in a way which absolutely maximizes the functionality of the SIM and delivers you the most cost-effective connectivity wherever you are in the world. It's called BSIM. It's massively competitive against any other SIM around the world. And the last thing I will say about it, which is a really Gucci element of this SIM, is if you get off the plane and it can't see networks it understands, it will pull SIMs down from the Ethernet. In other words, we can over-the-air provision this SIM with local SIMs no matter where you are in the world. So that's BSIM. It's very exciting and it's almost here. Thanks, Ed.
Colin. So hopefully that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of Albeego products. I don't think we've got any questions, have we, Simon? Everyone's a bit shy.
If anybody, do they know how to do it? Use it? I'm sure they do.
If you've got a question, ping it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll just do a bit of a wrap up, and by all means, send questions over to me after this session, and also obviously people watching this after the event as well. So there's my contact details. I just want to quickly wrap up on some of the things Simon and Colin have said today. So hopefully the message that you guys have got from this session is just how, one, easy to deploy this solution is, and also the opportunities in terms of revenue streams for yourselves and also for your customers. And that's from not just the hardware, but through to the services, through to the data opportunity with the SIM. So when we're providing mobile data, that in itself presents a great opportunity. From my perspective, I think about things like, my background, as people on this call might know, is telco. So one of the thorns in the side of the wider network providers has always been wayleave, where you'll have a maybe 30-site network, and there's a couple of troublesome sites where there's a wayleave issue, and they can take 6, 9, 12 months to resolve, as you know. They can go on and on and on, leaving a site potentially disconnected. So what you can obviously offer your customer here is within 24 hours, ship them a box and it's on the network. It's secure, completely secure. And with bonding technology, it's going to be 9 times out of 10 fast enough for that client's needs. So I think what will happen with this is you guys will determine the marketplace by thinking about your customers and thinking about your specific applications. When I joined in October, I went through this loop of almost every person I spoke to, you could see an opportunity where one of these products or services fits. And I think that's the kind of exciting thing for Albeego, that it really does apply to a lot of markets and a lot of sectors, but that'll be driven by you guys. So kind of the purpose of this was to try and obviously get you guys switched on to the technology and what we can offer. But from our perspective, we're looking to now recruit partners and resellers to take this to market. We've got multiple units out in the field, prototypes being used in anger in live situations. We've got round 2 of the boxes being produced, the new casings and things. So we are ready to go. This isn't kind of vaporware. If we had the cameras on, I could actually hold on up and show you, but we are ready to go with this. So please get in touch with me, and I'll follow up with everybody who's registered for this call. My details are obviously there at the top of the screen, but I think we've got a question actually, which is quite exciting, isn't it? Let me have a look.
Can we get a better understanding of the BSIM from EK?
Okay, so there's a call for a better understanding of the BSIM. So Colin, can I ask you just for a couple of minutes just to quickly explain that again? Sorry about that, but
yeah, okay. We're in the middle of writing the product sheet for BSIM. But again, the reason we're interested in this is because, yeah, I've mentioned the technicalities of juggling different SIM accounts. When I used to use this technology in a former job, it was terrible having to, 9 times out of 10, if a bonded router has a problem, it's usually because the SIMs have run out. So what we wanted to do was take this idea of BSIM. Now with BSIM, we used what's called data lakes. So the chances of you running out of data are very, very slim. And also what it means is if you're in an area which is biased like for instance, where I live, the area is biased towards Vodafone. There's more Vodafone where I live than any other network. So if I was managing my own SIMs, I'd be using loads of Vodafone data, not so much EE or O2, etc. Well, that doesn't really matter when you're using a pooled data concept, and that's what BSIM is. So BSIM what it can do is it can give you access to tier 1 pricing when you're in the UK, because it can select the IMSIs which are appropriate to the networks that are in the UK. But the problem is, if you then take that those IMSIs, those international mobile subscriber identities, and you take them over to Europe, they're not going to be recognised by the European networks, or they may be, but they will hit you with roaming charges. So what you really need to do is that the system needs to select an appropriate IMSI for the territory which you're operating in. So what it would do is it would push aside its local UK IMSIs and then adopt a pre-placed European IMSI. Now we can do that. That gives you then access to the European networks in the most cost-effective way, and then we repeat that if you get off the plane in the US or Southeast Asia. Now, so effectively, what it's all about is having multiple IMSIs on that SIM. And yes, people say, well, look, multi-IMSI SIMs exist out there, but what doesn't exist is a router that has the intelligence and the ability using Agile SIM technology to actually pick up and use the IMSI that it wants. And if it can't find one, actually screaming out across the network and pulling IMSIs down from the cloud. And that's really the whole idea behind BSIM.
Thank you, Colin. Yeah, I think one of the big things for me is the intelligence. And a great example that resonated with me as someone who goes to the football was you can go to the match and you could have 40,000 people in a stadium. You could connect to the local mast with one of these devices, but it would be heavily congested. And as anyone who's gone to a football stadium knows, you don't get the internet. Whereas the software and the technology would actually say there's a mast that's further away, but actually it's far less congested. So I'm going to flip over to that one. That's the clever bit is the software here, not the hardware. And that's what we've got to think in terms of. Okay, there's a couple more questions which I'll get to before we wrap up. So turnaround time on product orders. That's a good question. I'm sure all you guys know, particularly if you work in technology, there is a bit of a global supply chain issue, and we've had to order different processors and components as we've gone through that. We are launching in Q2. We have products in the pipeline in terms of order, and we're aiming for a kind of an 8-week delivery time frame. But it's an ever kind of moving situation at the moment. So what we're saying to people, and we're obviously quite engaged with some people, is the earlier people can let us know for demand, the better, because we're forward ordering as much as possible. So it is a bit of a moving feast, but we'll get to the point in 2022 where we're carrying these things in stock. You know, that's where we're going for. But at the moment, there is a little bit of a lead time.
From Mr. Solomon.
Okay, Mr. Solomon is asking, what partnership programs do you have for emerging economies, East Africa and Uganda?
Do you do any test kits materials?
And do you have any test submits? So yeah, we have done proof of concepts in Uganda and East Africa, ironically. So we are in conversations, and we are absolutely geared up to provide to those regions. I mean, the way to think of this, it is a truly global solution, and we will work with what they call the British finance people. What they call
Export Finance.
UK Export Finance. That's the one. Thanks, Simon. You know, to construct deals in some of these places around the world. So yes, absolutely is the answer to that question. In terms of reseller and partnership agreements, yes, we have those. And again, if people want to get in touch with me post this webinar, be delighted to talk that through.
That's a specific technical one. I just want to get back to it separately.
Okay, there's a technical question about the SIM gaining access to local area network. So we'll follow that up with you on an email. That's okay. I'll probably ask Colin to answer that one, if that's all right. And I think that we're about done on the questions. So time is okay, 22. So I won't keep you guys any longer, and I'll just say thanks again for your attention and joining this webinar. I will follow up with everybody. I hope you got a kind of feel for Albeego and what we're about and what the potential is, and maybe can start thinking about where it might fit for your customers or your business. I believe there's great opportunity. So as I say, I'll be following up with you all. Please get in touch, and hopefully we'll have a great 2022 and beyond. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.